I love lamp. I love tree. I love camera. I love computer. I love pen. I love paper. I love my mom. I love ice cream. I love my goldfish, Goldie. Actually, I don't have a goldfish. We love a lot of different things in life, and we need to really clarify what we mean by love. Hello, everybody. My name is Father Sean, and today I'm going to be talking about love in this series on the virtues for the kingdom. And it's all about love. All these virtues that we've been talking about truly find their home in love. They find their expression in love. Love manifests itself through these other virtues as well. But love is the most important. There's a lot of different virtues. There are three most important virtues: faith, hope, and love. St. Paul reminds us this. There are three things that last: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. It's greater than faith. Love is greater than faith. Love is greater than hope. That's how it is. It's just from Revelation. So, let's really aim at love above all things. The greatest commandment that Jesus gave us is what? To love God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our strength. And the second is like it, to love your neighbor as yourself. All the law is wrapped up in this. Love. It's a big deal. God is love, and he who lives in love lives in God, and God in him. It's a huge deal because God is love. And if we love, then somehow God is living within us. That's amazing. This is amazing. And we need to just open our hearts to receive this divine love and just let it overflow out of us and gush out into the world. This is the divine plan. But it's not automatic, and we have to have a little study in this so that we don't get distracted. So let's kind of dive in. The tradition that we've received kind of understands love to be a few different things. I would say three principal ways of understanding love. The first way is just a simple, clear definition that really wraps up any understanding of love. It is to will the good of the other. To will the good of the other. It's not too complicated there. If I love you, I'm going to will what's best for you. Today, we have the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. We also, these days, have the platinum rule: do unto others what they would have you do unto them. That's essentially say you have to conform yourself to their will as opposed to their true good. But that's not right. We can't just lower ourselves to what is less than what is true good. We have to love them through a vision of true Christian love and love them in accordance with a true good. And the greatest good for them is salvation. We need to love them to salvation. That's the greatest love. We need to love people in their bodies and feed them and shelter them. But if we're neglecting their spirit, woe are us. We've become people who are not Christian anymore. So we need to keep that in mind. So anyways, that's the first way, to will the good of the other. And especially the greater the love, the greater the good that we are willing for them. And if we have maximal love for them, we're willing the maximal good for them. The second is simply self-gift. Now, this comes from Jesus. Jesus says, there's no greater love than this, than to give one's life for a friend. Jesus, the one who told us that in words as well as in deeds, because he gave himself up for us, where? On the cross. And that is an important and beautiful thing. It's an important and beautiful thing to give up one's life for a friend, to have this self-gift. We need to, if we're going to be people of love, we're going to be people of self-gift, not looking for gifts from others, but always striving to be a gift to other people. This relates to the next one when Jesus is talking about friends, to give up one's life for a friend, because there's no greater expression of love on the earth than true friendship. I'm not talking about friendship of just kind of hanging around together and having a good time. I'm not talking about a friendship that is useful. If you work with someone, you're trying to have a friendship with them so you can sell more stuff or you can get more business or whatever. You can get along well. It's just easier that way. That's fine. I don't have anything against that. But true friendship is really recognizing yourself in them and loving yourself in them and acting as if they're a part of you and choosing their good. It includes a mutual benevolence. It's got to go both ways. If it's one way, it's just kind of like, that's not a very good friendship. But it has to be both ways. You have to really have a benevolence for one or the other. It's how it goes. Then friendship also requires a shared life together. I could have a friend who's going to be across the world, maybe in China, maybe in Italy, maybe in Mexico, wherever. But a true friend is going to have to be around me. I'm going to have some shared life. And through communication, we're able to have those more deeper friendships farther off. I know someone who talks to someone who's overseas every single day, and that's a real friend because they do share their life together. But generally, that's pretty hard. Giving up one's life for a friend, that's a big deal. Jesus says, "No longer do I call you servants or slaves, but friends." This is how he chose to love us, by elevating us to that level of friendship. And we need to say, "God, you're my friend. Jesus, I'm your friend. I'm going to have benevolence for you. I'm going to seek your will. I'm going to look for your good. But then I'm also going to share my life with you. I'm going to spend time with you. I'm going to share everything I own with you." And this is true shared life. All this kind of wraps up together in conforming one's life to the other. That is to say, to God above all things. There's a couple of problems, I believe, with loving God. In our day and age, there's two big problems. The first comes from a phrase, which itself is true. Jesus Christ is everything. Jesus Christ is everything. It's all about Jesus. All you got to do is believe in Jesus and boom. In and of itself, that's certainly true. But what has fallen away from that is a true love. Because I believe, and anyone who's a reasonable person, I think will believe this, that if we really understand who Jesus was, and if we desired to be a disciple and we desired to follow him, we would love what he loved. We would reject what he rejected. We would speak in the way that he spoke. We would listen to whatever he taught. We would be friends with who he was friends with. In this world, he loves everyone, so we have a universal love for everyone. We have to really be conforming the entirety of our lives to him. We have to conform our minds to his truth that he revealed. We have to conform our decisions of our heart with the way of life that he told us about. I believe we're kind of entering into the de-doctrinalization of Christianity, which is very far from a disciple because Jesus gave us doctrine about himself. He revealed himself. He told us who he was. He told us what the good life was. He told us how to get there. And stepping out of this doctrine, I'm just using the word doctrine to mean teaching, but if we step out of doctrine, we step out of putting our foot down on something that Jesus Christ really was clear about. We can't afford to not do that. We have to love what he loved. We have to reject what he rejected. We have to receive what he taught. And we have to follow him with our whole heart. If we're to be people who love him, that's the only way. The other big problem, I think, these days is that we love our neighbor more than God. It's not like everyone's doing it all the time, but certainly we can recognize times where we desired to have someone their way, and we kind of conform some dimension of our life to their sin. We might even approve of an immoral decision in some way or another. We might give in to someone's immorality and even find ways to support that. That ain't the way of Jesus Christ at all. We have opted to love our neighbor in the way that they want to be loved more than loving God and the way that God wants us to love our neighbor. We need to really purify the hierarchy of love. First God, and then others. We also have to love our spiritual self more than others, though, because God demands it. We have to be faithful to him before we're faithful to other people, even though we're supposed to desire their spiritual good and physical good. So this is a very important thing. We must prioritize God above other people, and our own spiritual good above other people. That's a hard one to take, but it must be done. We must care for our own salvation before the salvation of other people. Kind of strange, but that's how it is. I truly believe that. And then from this great love of God, the love of neighbor flows forth. This is how it goes. So how do you grow in love? How do you grow in love? Well, it's not too different. It's kind of like growing in love with your spouse. How do you grow in love with your spouse? Well, you first got to stop caring for yourself so dang much. We have to stop satisfying ourselves. We have to stop always thinking about what I want. In a marriage, it will kill and destroy a marriage. If you get into a marriage because you want to be happy, like, goodbye. Like, no, you need to get into a marriage so that you can make someone else happy. You get into a marriage so that you can serve someone, so you can wash their feet, so you can cook their meals, so you can earn a living for them and have a beautiful life together. It's what comes. But if you're doing it so that number one is well cared for, kiss that marriage goodbye. Start from, just, it's messed up. Don't panic. Just start from scratch and begin to desire the good for the other. In the relationship with God, if we're loving God to satisfy ourselves, that's going to quickly become the worship of the self, not the worship of God. God will use different ways to make us feel good and help us to be satisfied, but he's only using that to draw forth a deeper love. It's kind of like in the movie E.T., where Elliot is using these Skittles or Reese's Pieces to draw forth this extraterrestrial where he's wanting to go. God is using the same ways. He's using these consolations to draw us closer to him, where there might not always be these consolations, where God will test our love, and we will have the opportunity to allow our love to be proven or not. We need to ask this grace because it's not automatic. We always need to do God's will. We need to do God's will. And in doing God's will, we must avoid even the smallest of sins. We can't truly love God if we are content with sinning in small ways. No, we have to really stop that. We have to stop our intentional sins. Maybe there's an occasional saint who's able to really put away sin forever in their latter part of life. But, for you and I, that's just not going to happen. And we just need to do our best to intentionally avoid sin. And please God, there will be a deeper purification so that we don't have these sins that just kind of come out of our mouths and we say these things that we don't mean, but it did come out of my mouth and I'm responsible for my mouth. So also we need to do bigger and greater acts of love for God. We need to spend more time in prayer to show him, to express to him, to manifest to him a greater love. We need to do something more on an apostolic way. If we've been trying to reach out to one friend, we need to grow our desires. Be like, Lord, I want to convert the whole world. I want to convert all of POTUS, Stigler, all of Spiral, all of America to you. I mean, that's a little bit of exaggeration. We got to just take what God has given us within our sphere of influence and bring that to him. And maybe even work a little bit to expand that sphere of influence so that we can bring to the Lord a greater harvest as an expression of love for the glory of his name. This is what it's all about, glorifying God through the salvation of souls. This is true love. All these virtues will play into this pursuit of true love of God, true glorification of his name through the salvation of souls. We can't just be content with a few virtues. All these virtues do and will grow together. It's worth listening to all these videos on all these forms of virtue because they all have a piece to play, a very relevant piece to play in this pursuit of the kingdom of God, in the kingdom of charity. So my brothers and sisters, may this all be fruitful. May the Lord bless you, and may God bring us closer in union to each other through being closer to him in charity. Peace to y'all.